Yeah, yeah. Coming up next on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, college students, they're going back to school, but we need to talk about their mental health and STIs. Stay tuned. What's up, everybody? It's Marty Sellers. Hey, yes, I'm coming to you again live from Southern California, and I am your mental hygienist. Hey, you know how we do it here. So glad that you are joining us for this special Wednesday edition of the Doctor Show. But let's be honest, I have to give you out what we're going to do tonight. We're doing something a little bit different, going back to some of my original roots of when I was doing this show one-on-one by myself. Tonight, can you believe all the doctors had an emergency and are in surgery or some personal things that had to happen? Listen, we had this show ready for you. See, Daryl, thank you. We had it ready. They were right in there. We had Dr. Allen and Dr. McKinney and Dr. Horn. But can you believe when you're doing a live show with real doctors doing real surgery, with real patients, this sometimes can happen. But we did not want to leave you hanging, and we did not want to not have this show. So we wanted to go forth anyway and just discuss, because we have a very, very, very important topic that we want to talk about. But let me make this disclaimer, as I always do at the beginning of every show. The Mental Health Matters with Marty show is strictly for educational purposes and educational purposes only. We are not, let me say that again, we are not a substitute for your mental health and wellness, but we are a supportive and a supplement to your mental health journey. Again, we are not a substitute, but we are a supplement to your mental health journey. So again, we want you, if you're experiencing any type of mental health crisis or anything else like that, we want you to definitely to seek your nearest urgent care, hospital, or dial 911. And most counties also have a crisis team that can come and help you. You can also dial the non-emergency line of your local police station for any support and help as well, because we can learn how to use these resources for our support and as a supplement, but not a substitute for what you're needing to do. All right. As we always say, listen, thank you so much. Can I do a shout out and a plug right now? As we are walking through this mental health journey, listen, we want you to know that there are some resources out there. I am so excited about this first resource that we have, and this is the Stop the Stinking Thinking Journal. That's it. Stop the Stinking Thinking Journal, found on my website at mentalhealthmarty.com. Again, found on the website at mentalhealthmarty.com. I always say about stopping the stinking thinking. How do we do this? We have to take care and take hold of those maladaptives or those negative, those stinking thoughts. Here's what I challenge people to do all the time. Write them down and poke holes in them. And we take the lie That's what the stinking thinking is. We take the lie and replace it with the truth. So I'm so excited about that journal. I encourage you, please support us in this mental health journey, and definitely pick up your Stop the Stinking Thinking journal to help you along your mental health journey in life. Why? So that we can speak up, so that we can speak out, and so that we might be able to live. But I'm so excited about this topic, y'all. Please engage with us. If you want to engage with us tonight, please go to our Mental Health Matters with Marty Facebook page or our Marcel Media Group YouTube page. Again, if you're going to engage with us, please let us know. Give us some questions. Let us know that you have college students. I would love to know if you have a college student that you're about to send off to college or they are already have started. Please, in the comments section, put a Y, only from the Mental Health Matters with Marty page or from the Marcel Media Group YouTube page. Put a Y in there because we want to support you. And even put your child's name or what have you. We want to support you in this journey. We want to engage with you and see how many of you are watching that have students that are going to college and how helpful this might be. Please also include in there questions that you would like us to answer, if not on this show, on one in the future when we can have our doctors come back in and give their expert medical advice. So college, what about college? Hey, have you heard? Have you heard? Have you heard? I like to call this, thank you, Daryl, for doing this. He came up with this amazing topic called Sex Ed 101, STI education for students. Not only are we going to be talking about STIs, but we're also going to be talking about mental health distractions, disorders, and diagnosis for college students as well. It is so important that we look at this. When we take our students and when they're going off to college, that is a major transition in life. I often like to call it adjustment disorder. Why? Because we are adjusting from one way of life to another. If this is you, I don't know about, that was me when I was adjusting from being at high school, being at home under my mom's roof, and then going off to college. I went to UC Berkeley. Go Bears. Shout out to the Bears. That's right. Go Bears. And in that, I immediately went into living into a dormitory with mixed floors. I think the girls were on 2, 4, and 6, and the guys were on 3, 5, and 7. And so we went into that from now living on separate floors. And then, what do men and women do? Young men and women, when they have all this freedom, they have sex in between classes. Yes, they do. I'm here to tell you they do. I'm not telling on myself, but they do. And so what happens? We need to educate them about all the sexual transmitted infections that can happen. And now we don't just worry about chlamydia. We don't just worry about gonorrhea. We're not just worrying about all these other things, syphilis. We have to worry about HIV and AIDS and so many other things, because still in our communities, we are still amongst the highest carriers of STIs as well as HIV and AIDS. Why? Because we don't have this conversation. We do not talk about it because it's still taboo. Listen, it is better for us to have these conversations with our college students instead of them learning on their own. Let me say that one more time. It is better for us to have these conversations, and set the expectation for them. Why? Because believe it or not, you hear your parents' voice in your head. Believe it or not, you will hear them and at least want to make some better decisions. Now, that is the goal of that. Have the conversation. My son will tell you when I was the house where all the basketball players came from his basketball team in high school. I would have these conversations with these young men, especially those getting ready to graduate. I would have honest conversations with them saying, listen, you're about to go to school on a scholarship. You are going to be a hot commodity. All these girls and so forth are going to be after you. You need to be responsible. You are not responsible enough to be a baby daddy. So you need to be cautious. You need to be careful. You need to use wisdom all of those things, having those conversations. And do you know that several of those young men came back to me on their second year, on their third year, when they graduate and say, Mr. Sellers, thank you for having that conversation with me, because I remembered what you said and I was more careful when I was going on dates or so forth. These are adults. We don't want to admit that these 18-year-olds are adults and they have what is called consensual sex. We may not want them to, but they are. And we need to have these conversations and let them know, not the sex ed that they have in school and try and scare you to death. We need to have the real conversations with them about all the responsibilities that come along with that. So, Daryl, let's talk about some of these statistics when it comes to STIs. Let's throw up some of these slides, Daryl, that you have definitely made. And again, the doctors aren't here, but when they come back, we're going to go into them more in depth. Consequences of STIs are particularly severe for young women. Let me say that again. The consequences, we never talk about the consequences. We just talk about, oh, sex is amazing. Sex is good. You're absolutely right. But in the right context, it is good. But in the wrong context, it can be damaging and have several consequences. Let's throw that slide right back up again, Daryl. Thank you. It says the consequences, undiagnosed STIs, sexual transmitted infections, causes 24,000 women, we're talking about young women, to become infertile each year. Let me read that again. Again, undiagnosed STIs causes 24,000 women to become infertile each year. That is an alarming number. Because we don't have the conversations with our sons, because we don't have the conversations with our daughters, birth control does not stop STIs. Let me say that again. Birth controls do not stop STIs. I love this. As an adjunct professor at Pasadena City College, Jonathan, it is so good. Jonathan, I need to have you on the show real soon here. I include the topic about sex protection, listen, and responsibilities in course syllabus, and I taught it in classes which I felt was well received by my students, because I came from a place of love as well as caring and making sure that they are able to make informed decisions, good or bad. Jonathan, you are right on point. You are so right with that. Jonathan, I am going to reach out to you because I would love to have this conversation, because we're talking about college students and you are our prime example of that. And Daryl, remind me to reach out to Dr. Ed Rice, because I think he would be an amazing guest on here too, as we're talking about college professors talking to their college students about sex and sex education. We have to, and John, I love that you're having this conversation on your syllabus in the classroom, because a lot of them have so much freedom. That's so much freedom that we have released to them, that they need to know and be able to make conscious and wise decisions. You're absolutely right, whether it's good or bad, but we want to make sure that we equip them so that they will know at least we've done our part with educating them about the right things as it pertains to STIs on college campuses. Daryl, let's look at the second slide with you, if you could, please. Again, this was another alarming. 1 in 5 people in the U.S. have an STI, totaling nearly, are you ready for this, 68 million infections in 2018. Lord have mercy. 68 million infections in 2018. 26 million new STIs in 2018. Almost half of new STIs were among young people or youth ages 15 to 24 in the USA, and nearly new STIs totaling nearly $16 billion in direct medical costs. 16,000, comma 000. Is that enough zeros, Daryl? Comma 000. Thank you. That's a lot of zeros. That's a lot of zeros we're talking about. I need to get into sex education and get some medicine to distribute because that's a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar industry. Why? Because we are not having proper conversations with our young people. I'm giving a call out and I'm calling out all of our churches. We need to do a better job about talking and having open conversations about sex ed 101. We can call it sex ed 101 the Bible's way. We can call it sex education 101 your way, the pros and cons of sex education. We have to have these conversations. We already talked about how 24,000 young people, young women, become infertile every year as a result of undetected and undiagnosed and untreated STIs. We saw that 1 in 5 people in the United States have an STI. That's crazy. Oh, thank you. We will, I'm trying to be politically correct, y'all. We will go in and have unprotected sex, but we can't go in and have a vaccination. I don't understand that. That just doesn't make sense to me. We will go in and take some weed off of the dope man, but won't get a vaccination. I know this show isn't about vaccinations, but let you know what we value and what we protect. That's crazy. Jasmine, you're absolutely right. It is crazy. We have to do a better job of educating our young people. Can I even go here? Since it's just me, I might as well just be Marty. Can we go here? Maybe we need to be having some conversations with the parents of these college and high school students, because if they don't have it right, how do we expect the young people to get it right? Come on and put a Y and like some hearts and thumbs up if you agree with me. Come on, let me see that. That's what we're talking about. Education across the whole border, across and I love what Jonathan Davis is saying. We need to have a better job of doing sex education on our college campuses. We need to do a better job of doing sex education in our high schools, and dare I say in our middle schools, in our churches, in our groups that we're doing, in our homes. Come on, we have to stop being so prude that kids aren't having sex. Listen, if over half of the cases of the 16 billion, so $8 billion, if I'm interpreting that statistic right, $8 billion a year is used on medical expenses to treat 15 to 24-year-olds who have STIs. Let that sink in. That's a Selah. Come on, we need to be talking. Listen, $8 billion is not something to sneeze at. That is not something to sneeze at all. Do you know what we could do with $8 billion in our communities? It wouldn't even cost $8 billion to do the education on it. We can then funnel and restructure that rest of those monies into mental health and mental health awareness programs, so that we're also not just being sexually safe, but we're also taking care of our mental emotions that go around that as well. As we're looking into September, what we're talking, better us than their, thank you, Jasmine. Better us than our friends, the internet, and Lord, even the music. You're absolutely right. If we don't have the conversations with our young people, somebody else will. If we don't have the conversations with our college students, somebody else will. Y'all talk to me. Those of you who are out there, talk to me. Jonathan, you had a wonderful talk to me. I need some professors and some teachers and parents. Talk to me. Engage with us. Again, how do you engage with us? Engage with us on the Mental Health Matters with Marty page, or on the Marcel Media Group on YouTube. Then we could see your comments. We want to hear from you, because this is a serious conversation that I don't want to gloss over, but definitely compel you. Let's have the conversation. Let's talk about it. That's why we're here. Listen, I'm here solo tonight, but I was not backing down from this conversation because it needs to be had. I had the conversation with my son before he went to college because I wanted him to be responsible. Yes, I know he's saved. Yes, I know he loves the Lord. But let me tell you, at 2:00 in the morning, listen, when that young girl or that young man is breathing down my daughter's neck or something like that, you're not thinking about the Lord at that point in time. And we need to have a fail-proof plan of how to be safe and wise during those times. Daryl, let's go to the next slide. Yes, here we go. STDs or STIs in the United States. In, again, total cases in 2018, almost 2.5 million cases. STDs have tightened their grip on this nation's health at rates that increase for a fifth year in a row. Chlamydia, look at these statistics. Chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, all of these that we have, congenital syphilis, primary and secondary syphilis. Listen, these statistics are saying you may not be talking about sex, but a lot of people are having sex. We need to have a talk about it so we can make sure we are doing and make sure we're executing and protecting our college students. We're protecting our children. Listen, you may, y'all, I get it. I understand. We may want we may want to educate them in the Bible, but listen, some of the biggest cases and pregnancies happen in the church. Come on, I know I'm talking right because I know some of y'all that I've been doing counseling with that grew up in the church because we have not had healthy discussions about sex and sex education. I'm talking now. I know I am. Whether you like it or not, send some hearts, send some thumbs up. Let me know you hear me. Come on. Because we don't know how to have healthy conversations about sex and sexuality in the church and have it in a way that meets our young people right where they are. Jasmine, I agree with you. If we don't have the conversations with them, somebody else will. And that somebody else is somebody we don't want them to have the conversation. So come out of your comfort zone, or let me say it this way, come out of your discomfort and make this conversation something comfortable to have. Auntie, hello. Listen, I need to have my aunt on here to talk about that too. She'll tell you the plain truth about sex and sexual education as it comes to, listen, my grandmother used to tell us, you better wrap it up. I'm like, Grandma, she goes, I ain't playing. Listen, because we had those conversations, sometimes at the most awkward times of that. My mother, I'm telling on my mama, she can't even see it. She's in Hawaii, living her best life. I'm going to grow up and be like her. Listen, her and my auntie just in Hawaii. She had the nerve to ask me while we were having family dinner, not just any dinner. We were having family dinner. And I was, I was in 11th grade in high school, going to Irvine High, and she looks at me. We're living on Ash Street, right off of Culver and Walnut. Those of you in Southern California, you know, right off the 5 freeway. Going to ask me, are you having sex? I almost spit everything out my mouth. I said, no, but my cousin is. So, you know, I was throwing everybody under the bus, but we had those conversations because we wanted to make sure. My mother was, I thank God for her because she really wanted to make sure that I was aware that I was going to college, and we had those conversations. Because my parents were divorced and my father lived in Ohio, he did not have that conversation, but that's a whole nother topic, talking about my daddy. God bless him, God rest his soul with that. So anyway, Daryl, I think we have another slide. Y'all, I told you we come prepared. We're ready to do this. STIs remain common and costly to the nation's health. Again, in 2018, we already saw this statistic. Near 1 in 5 people. So you put 5 people in the room, and you go, at least one of you probably have an STD or an STI. So when you go to a house party or you're at a backyard party or barbecue, just talk 1, 2, 3, 4, you got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, you have something. 1, 2, 3, 4, you have something. It's like Russian roulette. So you need to be careful who you sleep with if you don't have someone that's consistent in that. Annual new STIs in 2018, again, 26 million new ones. And then the direct cost, again, we saw this already. I'm just blown away by that $16 billion. 16 million, I might be able to understand. I wish it were 1,600, but we're talking about 16 billion with a B dollars that we spend in medical care and doing to make sure that we get penicillins, the shots, and everything else out to them so that we can cure and not allow these STDs to run and STIs to run rampant in our communities. That's a serious problem. That lets me know we are not talking enough about not only the consequences, the physical consequences of it, but the mental consequences of it as well. So having that talk, Daryl, do we have any more slides? I lost count there. So when we're looking at this, again, when we're looking at how this gap is, closing the U.S. prevention gaps is critical to reduce syphilis in newborns. In 2018, nearly 9 in 10 newborn syphilis cases in the United States were in the South and the West. Lord have mercy. See, that's what I'm talking about. The South is the Bible Belt, but we got the most syphilis cases of newborns there is. Near 9 in 10 newborn syphilis cases were in the South and out West. Now, out West, I can almost understand. You know, Cali is kind of cray-cray. But come on, look at Texas in the South, the Bible Belt. We're talking about, ooh, all this. Come on, we got Georgia, Mississippi. Come on, Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, West Virginia, y'all help them. Florida, we already know that. Alaska, yeah, listen, I am putting Georgia in there. Georgia, the Mecca of the South. Y'all going cray. Got these. Come on, somebody. Listen, we got to be careful. My producer is in my ear talking about leave Georgia out of this, but we have to have the conversations. That's serious. 9 out of 10 newborn cases, newborn babies that have syphilis have been located to be in the South, aka the Bible Belt, and the West. We have to have these conversations because, listen, again, things are happening. Let me give you some statistics since we're talking about this on mental health when it comes to college students. Y'all got to put on my glasses. Age and low lighting is kicking my butt. 75% of lifetime cases of mental health conditions begin by age 24. So what are we saying? When we're getting those early diagnoses when it comes to mental health diagnosis, again, a lot of them happen in the college age, and they are masking sex, they are masking alcohol, they are masking weed and drugs as a way of coping with their mental health disorders. We need to have these conversations. And what are we saying? If we're seeing some irrational behaviors or seeing behaviors changing, then we need to start having these conversations. So let's look at these comments. Sorry, y'all, I'm reading some things. Auntie says, Mom would say, if anyone wants to go under your dress, tell them to have you asked to go ask your mama. Right, she sure did say, listen, someone asked you if you want to go under your dress, you need to ask their mama. Right, I told y'all, my family, I love them because we had honest conversation. My mother was the oldest of 12 by my grandmother, and a total of I think 16 of us, but of hers siblings that she has. But we had to have those conversations. Listen, my grandmother had 12 single births. So she knew something about sex education, and she had to tell us and she was not bashful about talking about sex with us. And because she wanted us to have a healthy relationship with us. Hey there, how you doing? Yes, Lindsay, how you doing? Good to see you. But we're having these conversations, and we want to make sure. So let's talk some more. Got my glasses on, going to my statistics, y'all. 1 in 4 young adults between the ages of 18 and 24 have a diagnosable mental health illness. So we were talking about 1 in 5 having some sort of STI. We talked about $8 billion being spent on that age group between 15 and 24. And now we're also using some other statistics, talking about 18, and I would even veer to say from 15 to 24, they have a mental health diagnosis. So again, when we're talking about STIs, when we're talking about some of these other things, I think we have to pair together, I know we have to marry together the mental health awareness and sex education as well. And we need to have specific classes, specific support groups on our college campuses, some healthcare clinics on our college campuses where we can create safety rooms and safe places for them to have the conversation when it comes about having sex, when it comes about the mental health and wellness. They can be in the same department, the same building, or what have you. But we have to start advocating for these type of educational classes, these type of educational support groups on our college campuses. Because when we're talking about bipolar and some of these other mental health disorders, they come out around that whole end of high school and college age. That's when those mental health disorders kick in, and that's when we're seeing them trying to self-medicate and do everything possible so that they are maintaining their health and wellness to the best of their ability. Now, here's what I'm saying. Almost 73% of students living with mental health conditions experience mental health crises on their college campuses. Listen again. Almost 73% of students living with a mental health condition experience a mental health crisis on their campuses. That's why we have to do a better job of making support groups. We got to do a better job of definitely doing a lot more with mental health crises. So parents, if you are seeing a change in your college student, talk to them. Having them see a therapist is not a bad idea. Have them having a mentor, having them be a part of a mentor program, having them have a big brother or an older college student to help lead them and walk them around. It is definitely helpful. All I'm doing here, guys, is pleading with you. Take care of your college students. Have the conversations. Talk about their health and wellness. Talk about their mental wellness. Talk about their spirituality. Talk about if they're, make the conversations about sex and sex education very comfortable for them so that we can have this. Why am I so passionate about this? Because we want to help our college students. Those who are already Black and brown, there are already enough odds stacked up against them entering into most of the college arenas anyway, especially if they're not going to an HBCU. I know there were many times in UC Berkeley, I was in classes of 1,200, 1,500, where I was one of 5, one of 7. If we had a dozen Black students in there, we were thrilled to death, because then we were able to have our own study groups, because we made it a point that we were going to make sure we were at the top of the learning curve and at the top of the grading curve as well, because we were fighting for, because too many people would look at us and say, how did you get here? Oh, you must have got here through EOP, Equal Opportunity Program, that there was no way we could get here on our own merits. There was no way they believed that we could get here by our own smarts. So that was a difficult way to plead and deal with that as well. How do you marry that conversation with sex and a student experiencing mental ill? That's good. I work as a paraprofessional teacher in high school setting. Jonathan, I think that's really, really good. I think when you're dealing with a mental health challenges, we first have to get them the support and help that they need. We deal with the presenting problem first. The presenting problem might be depression. The presenting problem might be anxiety. The presenting problem, what we pray is might be just adjustment disorder. I'm one who likes to underdiagnose initially, because I never want the label to follow them or them be defined by the label. So then, Jonathan, what I then begin to do, as I start to explore the presenting problem, as I start to now do an investigation about